Hello, this is Arash Vasugi. As we are heading in to the close of 2022, I wanted to share some powerful ideas that'll really propel you to close the year out strong and really propel you for anything you do going forward, especially going into 2023. Now, today's lesson is one of my favorite topics and one that has had one of the greatest impacts in my life, and that is on self-image. Self-image psychology has really been a topic that has been spoken about for around the last 30, 50 years. And I remember when I got involved in being mentored, my mentor shared with me, you are not going to go very far unless you have a significant image. And I can't give you that image. I could teach you how to create one, but I can't give it to you. And he gave me this book, and he said, I want you to study this book for the next year. And the name of the book is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. When I read it, I literally divulged that book. Within 48 hours, I finished it. And I shared it with my mentor how much I loved it. He said, you didn't read it properly. He said, I don't want you to gather information. I want you to apply the lessons at each chapter. Well, I started understanding the importance of self-image from that conversation. And I could look at the last 14 years of my life when I was really struggling. I was in a lot of debt. I was overweight. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was what I would call a drifter. I didn't have any clue what self-image was. And I remember I would always shrink from it. If I had a poor image, I would think that that was a negative thing. Well, that idea really changed over the last 14 years. Now, self-image, first of all, is the most important picture we have of ourselves. Right now, I want everybody to take an observation of their results. I want you to look at your income, look what's in your bank account, look at your health, look at the amount of debt you have, look at your relationships, look at yourself as a great follower. Are you a great leader, or were you a great follower first? Look at what your attitude is going into the year. The most important picture we have is the picture of ourselves. And I want you to burn this idea in your mind. Our self-image, we can never outperform, but we can change it. So I want you to think about what you want. What do you really want right now? Well, whatever that is, your image has to match that. If your image is out of harmony with your want, it is impossible for you to create it. And I'll give you another powerful idea, that whatever you want, you can absolutely accomplish it. But your job, my job for my want, is to get in harmony and match my image with that want. Well, you may say, well, how do you do that? That's what I'm going to show you today. First off, you have to make a definite decision. Nothing changes until you make a significant decision, and what I like to call an irrevocable, committed decision that you're going to do whatever it takes, not what's convenient. When we do what's convenient, it's a wish or a hope. It's something you're interested in. When you do whatever it takes, it's no excuses. I am accepting extreme ownership for my life, for what got me here. And from this point on, what I do is going to take me to where I want to go. And the truth is, what you do right now, what I do right now, is going to dictate what my future results are by my image. And my image is impacted by how I think about myself, how I act on ideas, how I observe my behaviors. Do I change them? Do I expand myself? Have I created a significant standard for myself? These are all things that are going to change your image. But it starts right now with, am I going to change my image one day or make every day day one? You decide. I want to really plant that in your mind. How many of us, I know I used to do it, where I would say, I'm going to start X on Monday. I'm going to start really getting disciplined on Monday. And today's Wednesday. And we want to make every day day one. You make every day day one, and make every day your masterpiece. That's how you're going to create a significant image of yourself. Now, if we're going to create image, we have to understand this is about you. My image is about me. The most important person in our lives are ourselves, because I am the only problem I'm ever going to have, and I'm the only solution. Well, when I started understanding that, that changed my life. When my mentor taught me that, he said, you're the only problem, the only solution you're ever going to have. Have you ever had one of those moments where it just hits you in the stomach? Well, that was one of them. Well, when he told me that, he says, you can't blame your spouse. You can't blame your friends. You can't blame your employer. The only person who's going to take you from where you are to where you want to go is you. Now, you could have the greatest mentors, but if you don't do what they tell you, well, you're not taking responsibility. You see, once again, it is about you. And let's go to the start of this. What did we say? Our self-image is the most important picture we have of ourselves. Our self is you. I want you to create a significant attitude about yourself. I want you to really understand that you have all the power inside you to create anything you want. Now, in order to do this, and in order to understand image and change our image, I want you to understand that big things are ahead for you. Everything that has happened to this point has prepared you for something far greater. I know some of you are going to reject that right away. Well, Rosh, you don't know my story. You don't know what's happened this year. This has been a really tough year, or this has been the same story year after year. Trust me, there is another person inside you that's dying to come out. It is tapping on your conscious mind saying, come on, there's more for us to do. Your soul wants you to express yourself. And everything that has prepared you for where you are right now has been essential to where you're going. So even when you've made the biggest mistakes, you didn't take any actions, you didn't follow through with your word, those were all part of what's taking you now. And what did we say? Every day is day one. So we want to give ourselves grace, not excuses. I want to say that again. Too many people are constantly knocking themselves down because they are so hard on themselves. I'm not wanting you to give yourself excuses, but I want to give you grace. See, when we give ourselves grace, we say, listen, I know I fell. I take ownership of that. However, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to change that right now. I'm going to change that idea. I'm going to call that person that I offended, and I'm going to take ownership. See, when we give ourselves grace, we increase our image. Now, I don't want you to give yourself excuse after excuse, because all you're doing is lying to yourself. But give yourself grace. That is going to really help you propel yourself. Now, all I ask you to do, I've got a challenge for you. The rest of the year, I want you to focus on being 1% kinder to yourself. Expand yourself 1% more. Increase your standard by 1%. Draw a line in the sand and say, I'm only accepting these ideas, these relationships that are above my standard. If you just focus on being 1% better, you are going to finish the year with such momentum. And momentum is a beautiful thing because it's something you earn by what you're doing, by how you're thinking, by what you're implementing or not implementing. You know, I have clients come to me and they'll tell me, I have clients on both ends. They'll say, you know what, Arash, I created the biggest quantum leap because I changed my image. And I have other clients that, you know, I've been working at this self-development and personal development and nothing has changed. And I said, well, how are you feeling? They said, well, I'm not feeling good. And I said, well, how long have you been doing this? They say, for 3 years. I said, you're not doing it. You're not implementing the ideas. You're gathering information. And I said, I want you to really think. If you were really thinking from your results already expressed, would you be acting like this? They said, no. Well, are you rejecting ideas that are out of harmony with the person you want to be? Well, no, I'm just letting the results control me. Then I say, well, you are not operating in harmony with the essence of what we teach and what I teach. See, just because you invest in a mentorship is not going to give you the results guaranteed unless you do the work. Well, what is the work? We have to build our image. Well, how do we build our image? We have to think. We have a reasoning faculty in our mind that gives us our ability to think. So if I'm letting the outside or somebody else take over my mind and my attitude is based on what they tell me, then I'm not thinking. Well, if I'm not thinking, I'm not changing my idea about myself. So in order to do this, we have to think. And we have to think and say a hard no to anything that is not in harmony with what we want. Now, I will give you an exercise right now that if you do it for the next 30 days, it'll change your life. It'll absolutely change your world. And that is write out your self-image in the present tense, the person you intend to become. And don't just write it. I want you to really mean it. This is what I want. I am so happy and grateful now that every day in every way I'm getting better and better, wealthier and wealthier, healthier and healthier. I am improving my sales by X amount and I love it. My confidence is an absolute high. Every day my confidence is getting better and better. I act on ideas within a millisecond and I love it. I am happy, I am healthy, and I am wealthy, and it is done. That's an example of one. But we don't just write it. Then I want you to read it every day. And I want you to close your eyes and see yourself with what you wrote. See yourself already there. And as you do that, you're going to take yourself from where you are to where you want to go. Now, I don't want you to just see it now. I want you to record it on your phone. And I want you to put that new program into your subconscious mind. You listen to what you just saw. You listen to what you just wrote for 10 minutes a day. If you do that, in the next 30 to 90 days, your image is going to change. You're going to see things that you attract that are going to blow you away from where you were to where you are now. Now, if we're going to change our image, we have to understand this fact that your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. It requires no modification, no improvement, and you have access to all the power in the world. Now, you want to really get that. I remember when I was taught that by my mentor, he said, Arash, your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. And he said, what do you think about that? I said, I've actually never thought about it. And he said, you know, when my mentor first taught me that, I rejected the idea like this. I said, yeah, I mean, it's a big idea. He said, but I don't want you to reject it. He said, you're made in the image of your Creator. And your spiritual DNA is perfect. We've got to understand that when we're working on altering our life and changing our image. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. That means we don't need anything. We don't lack anything inside of us. We've got to become aware of what we have inside of us. And as we become aware of that, you're operating from the higher side of your personality, which is your spiritual side. The essence of who we are is pure perfection. Well, whenever I'm working with a client, the first thing I work with them on is self-image. And I tell them, your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. Now, I do it because my mentor taught me that, and it changed my world. Once I accepted that idea, right away, I was working with a much powerful picture of myself. And that's what I want you to do. And I want you to understand you have access to all the power in the world. Think about this. How is it when you're thinking of a friend, they call you or they send you a text message? We have access to everything. We're all one. And if one person can create a significant self-image, so can you. I want you to really get that in your mind. If one person can do it, so can you. I know that's what I did. And our image is the foundation of everything we do. Right now, if you ask me to go fix something, you give me a screwdriver in my hand, not a great image. Not a great image with that. But you tell me, hey, can you help this company improve their sales? That would be a no problem. I could do it in no time. With my eyes closed, I can show what a company's gap is. I can show what a person's gap is in their image, no problem. I have a very high image towards that. There's things that you have a much greater image than I do. But it's where do you want to strengthen your image? I know when I started my journey, all I wanted to do was create freedom. But I didn't have the image of what that was. I didn't know how do I get that image? And that's why I invested in mentorship to learn it. Well, that's where I discovered that everything is about understanding. Well, how do you get understanding? through study and mentorship. You know, it goes back to how I started this. You know, my mentor gave me a book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and I devoured it. And I've read that book at least 25 times. You know, but I really started studying it, and then I realized anything that I wanted, I had to match my image. And I can tell you story after story along my journey where even though I improved my life considerably, I still had problems with my image in different areas. And I remember there was a time my wife and I were going to look at this house, and we had plenty of money to afford the house at this time. And I remember walking in, and there was this huge gate. And I walk in the gates, and I remember my thinking, who do you think you are? And I remember I said, oh crap, it's still there. Still needing to be approved by other people. What are they gonna think? And right away, I rewrote that image the same way I shared with you a few minutes ago. And then a year later, I bought a different house that was much nicer, and I didn't have that anymore. See, what we want to do is we want to run towards our insecurities. And not just run, we want to sprint towards them. Your insecurities are not the problem. Your relationship and attitude towards them is the problem. And attitude is a whole different lesson that I will put on here and teach you in a future time, because our attitude is everything. But just remember, your image impacts everything in your life. Impacts your relationships, impacts your relationship with yourself, impacts how you attack your goals, impacts how you allow your dream to fulfill itself in your life. It impacts how much money you earn. It impacts the type of ideas you're going after. Are you going after what you really want or what you're settling for? And just remember, today's self-image creates future results. Now, this is just a short lesson on image. I could talk about image forever. I mean, I'm doing training courses on how to create a significant image and how to create a 7-figure self-image. Just remember, do the exercise, get 1% better to finish out the year, rewrite your image in the present tense how you really want it to be, and be very specific, and then record it, and then read every line, close your eyes and see yourself. See the invisible, see what you want. Believe the incredible. What is the incredible? Your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. It needs no modification. You have access to all the power in the world. And then you're going to receive what the masses call incredible or miracles that we call right here standard. And you're going to do it over and over and over again. And just remember, the repetition of getting emotionally involved with what you want, see yourself of how your image is going to create a massive quantum leap in your self-image. Thank you.